Hi, I am Hassan Hammer. I am the founder and lead instructor of AI-proof BI-FinTech PM Consultant Training Academy. We are going to be doing an unboxing video. I am academically trained as an aerospace engineer with a specialization in avionics. Also, I am a professional project manager, a certified Azure Cloud Architect expert, and a professional Scrum Master. I fell in love with software during the course of my academic studies. And once I finished, I wasn't quite happy with the level of compensation that was available. But I spent 2 years to figure out how to pivot to a better career option. And I landed on project management consulting, which was amazing because very quickly I rose through the ranks as a PM consultant, learning everything inside out and clearing more than $400,000 per year salary equivalent. That's over $18,000 per month take home in the bank. This gave me a lot of freedom. I was able to work remotely. I got to work out of Costa Rica, out of Nova Scotia in a 4-bedroom penthouse by the ocean with a beautiful, inspiring view. I got to work out of a 64-floor high-rise building in Makati with just absolutely amazing energy. And now in Bali, Indonesia. And throughout all this, I also got my dream car, Porsche 718 GTS, the only manual one in the country at the time. So a lot of freedom, getting a very rewarding career and increasing my autonomy. Currently, my passion is taking professionals and turning them into competent project managers that can earn at least $10,000 per month plus or more. If you're good, that's just the starting point. But that's what I start with, because anyone who goes through the program, listens to what I say, does the work, gets the certification, will get that result. If you're motivated, you can continue beyond that. And now, the pain point we are currently experiencing is the AI trend. All of technology is converging into this AI super technology product. McKinsey, a research firm, here's a statistic by them. They're forecasting 50% white collar reduction by 2028. And white collar jobs being lost kind of go under the radar. You're just going to simply lose your login, and once you do, have a harder time breaking back into the job field. That is the landscape that we are working with. Geoffrey Hinton, the Nobel Prize winner, the godfather of AI, his advice is become a plumber, which is absolutely ridiculous. We can do better, and that is the intention of this program. So I've spent 4,000 hours, I'll show you, and the meticulousness of an aerospace engineer in building this course out. I took 10 years of my notes and I productized all of that knowledge into this one program. Let me show you. So I track my time, because when you're working on a large project, if you don't track your time, you're going to get demotivated. I've spent over 4,000 hours on this project. In the beginning, I was working contracts and not all of it. But basically, this is a 7x54 matrix. It starts on a Sunday and it ends on a Saturday. And I track the number of hours worked. The top, I track number of sets for exercise, and the bottom is reading. Those 3 keystone habits, they power the focus muscle. I took notes throughout the whole time and I parsed it. I went through everything. I went through all my to-do lists to refresh my memory and come up with the program. It took me 3 months. I put it into this brainstorm document. And from here, narrowed it down into this slicer-based outline. So I can click on my modules, I can see my ideas. Okay, just like a table with a slicer, nothing crazy. But it started here, then it went into this course outline. From here, I turned it into a roadmap. I am now on the 4th iteration of this roadmap. This program actually started off massive, and I've really shrunken it down to the bare essentials with a new lens. So the first lens was how to make ultra competent project managers. The new lens is how to accelerate professionals into project management consulting such that they can earn $10,000 per month plus or more in the most efficient way possible, without any drag, but with the required level of competence. So I actually had to remove stuff because, teaching everything is great, but not if nobody can finish the program. Now, this program is very streamlined, and every item has been vetted towards one end goal, which is to get you mastery at the required competence level to achieve $10,000 per month plus. Oh yeah. From there, I also made a Gantt chart, and then I executed on this. From the Gantt chart, I actually went to a Jira board. It took a bunch of effort. About my experience, I worked at a company called Trapeze. It is a software vendor for transit operation software. I worked at Scotiabank. I worked at FundServe, which is a trade settling company. And I worked at Canada Life, which is healthcare and dental data reporting for the Canadian government. It's massive amounts of data. The team was 40 people, and I was a work stream lead in that. And also at Morgan Stanley as the Cloud PMO Scrum Master. Everything I am teaching, I have learned directly from the front line. This program is broken down into two components. The first, I'll tell you the program formula. Level 2 is certifications. You get 3 certifications: PSM1, PMP, and CPMAI, Professional Scrum Master, Project Management Professional, and Certified Professional in AI Orchestration and Deployment. Okay, so this one's very new. This one's older, but it's the golden standard. And they're both by PMI, and they're both globally recognized. First, I go through the knowledge as you need to know it to hit the ground running. Problem I have with typical certification courses is that they don't teach you domain expertise. And the problem with that is you can be a project manager for a shipbuilding company, you can be a project manager for construction, you can be a project manager for a whole host of domains. But you're left on your own devices to figure that out. And that can take, up to years to learn the language, learn how to break into the industry. And other training programs, what they'll do is multiple people will teach you multiple different things, and you're left on your own to figure out what to do with that. Everything I built myself. It is from one source. It is geared towards one end result, and that is the intention. So the basic formula is first you get the theory to hit the ground running, and then you get the certifications. Okay, so for example, PMP. We cover that in Consulting Knowledge 1 module, how to actually manage a project. Now the thing with PMP is you're going to go through the PMBOK, which is like a dictionary. By the time you're done, if you're academically rigorous, you'll be able to pass the exam. But once you hit the front lines, you'll be like, I don't really know what I'm doing, and you'll be lost. So to combat that, I do this in 2 parts. 1, I'll teach you how to do it as you do it in the job from the front lines. And then 2, the certifications we do with reverse learning method, meaning now that you know how to apply it to the real world, we blast through the certification process by actually studying the end material. And from there, we're studying what you're going to be tested on. That way it's efficient. We start with, for example, a question, and whatever terms are new, we study those. Whatever part of the question is incorrect, we examine why it's incorrect. Whatever is correct, we examine why it's correct. It is the most efficient way to study. So this is the only program that will teach you both deep domain expertise and also give you certifications. Insane value, and all from one person, myself. So we're going to unbox the roadmap, the portfolio entry, the live job board, agentic AI automation, the guarantee. So this comes with a satisfaction guarantee. So I'm saying you'll be able to get PM consulting contracts that are $10,000 per month or more. Now, I can't guarantee that you're going to do the work, but what I can guarantee is that I will provide you with the level of service required such that you can obtain the end result. And if that is not true, I will give you a refund, no questions asked, money back guarantee. Okay, now there are conditions, which are 2 of them. 1, within 6 months. You can't sign up and 3 years later ask me for a refund. So 90-day program, get it done within 6 months, and that also keeps you motivated. And secondly, you have to show up for the group weekly sessions. There's 2 of them, 80% attendance required in at least 1 of them. Okay, so you can't show up and just disappear for 6 months and ask for a refund on the last day. 80% attendance required. And what that does is it allows me to remove roadblocks. So I am going to try to move quickly through this because there's a lot to cover. So let us get started. Okay, is there any other pictures I want to show? Car, working remotely. Did I show this? This was co-working, you know. I got to go to various co-working spots and work out of there, which is also nice. Okay, so what kind of jobs can you get? So I built this job board. A very similar web app will be going into your portfolio. You'll be building this. I used agentic AI automation to build this, but you can see the exact type of jobs you will get right here. And these are the jobs you can apply to. You know, so by all means, browse through them, see what catches your interest. This program will allow you repeated success in these types of jobs. Now, how did I build this? I used N8N automation. Okay, let's see if I can get in over here. Okay, so the way this works is there's an IMAP email trigger. Okay, so this is my email, my personal email. Over a period of a decade, I've built up a network of recruiters that email me new opportunities. So as soon as I get an email here, the IMAP trigger runs. Then the job gets ingested into this workflow. Okay, so I'll click here and I'll show you what that looks like. Dear Hassan, my name is Nicole and I am a recruiter at Agile Services Corporation. Let's see if I can find this one. Here it is. Dear Hassan, my name is Nicole. I'm a recruiter at. So it ingests the email. It goes into here in a JSON format. Okay. From there, there's some detailed steps. We want to do one email at a time. Then the agentic AI step kicks in. So I'm taking my email, which could be any format, and I am putting it into a backend table which powers the front end. Okay, now you can do it with traditional ETL processes, extract, transform, load. You can take that in, put it into a cloud data warehouse like Snowflake, and then you can create a DLL view. You got to make sure everything matches up exactly and all of the data types are the same format, or you're not going to be able to stack them. It's going to break. Okay, so I don't want to do that here because every recruiter has a different format. I don't have upstream data control as is advised in traditional data engineering. So I actually do a API call to XAI. Okay, and it's very cheap. I think this month I've spent 96 cents to do all of the automations. It takes the email, it does an XAI API call. Let me see if I can show you guys this really quickly. Uses Grok 4.1 fast reasoning model, and it has a prompt. You're an expert JD parser and a sales strategist for this organization. It reads the email and it extracts the needed data into JSON classes. Things like job description, job requirements, name of recruiter, what their phone number is, what their email is. Okay, so all of this gets sent to XAI. Grok analyzes the email, takes the data that I'm telling it I want, puts it into JSON classes, and then sends it forward to the next node, okay, which is the output node. And from here, it goes and gets appended into a sheet. And the sheet powers the front end database, my job board, okay, over here, which you have access to for free. You can also get the 15-page strategy guide here. And this will show you, so I'll show you how to build all this. It'll go into your portfolio. And this job board is actually inspired by a website called Auto Tempest. Okay, so what is Auto Tempest? Auto Tempest is a website that aggregates data from all of the online classifieds for cars. Okay, so things like eBay, Cars.com, TrueCars, Caravana. It connects to all of them, so that way you don't have to go through all of those websites and see what they have if you're looking for something that's hard to find. Okay, so I was I took inspiration from that, and the job sources I have are all of the top project management recruitment sites, as well as my email. So things like my personal network of email recruiters, Proviso, Procom, NTT Data, Nerdy Hire, Modus, SI Systems, Solutia, Tundra. Okay, so I took all of these project management consulting job sources, and through agentic AI automation, I put it all into one place. That way, this is the most comprehensive place to find project management consulting contracts. It is a work in progress. I'm working on it. However, it is fully live, and as soon as there is a contract that I receive, it instantly ends up on here. There is a bar that shows how stale the job is. Preparation meets opportunity, just the classic case of that. You can check out the jobs here, and these are the same ones I'd apply to. Okay, I'm going to take an opportunity to show the WhatsApp group. So there is a AI-proof BI-FinTech project management consulting WhatsApp group, and I discuss these jobs here, and I post regular updates here. For example, this one was really good. It was technical experience with low code, so not too hard to learn, waterfall and agile, both things that this course covers, and it paid $19,000 a month. So we strategize. This keeps students motivated, and if they have any questions, they can ask me directly. There's students that are already project managers in there. Of course, you can work any project management consulting jobs, but I advise for contract over full-time because it pays double. That is what this program teaches you. Aim is to get you to $10,000 per month plus as a competent, certified project management professional that is AI-proof and has the domain expertise to hit the ground running. It's divided into levels. Okay, then the AI orchestration and BI-FinTech Nirvana is $10,000 per month plus as a basic hygiene standard. If you're offering rates less than this, the market's going to be like, you don't know what you're doing, so you won't be able to get it anyway. So $10,000 per month really is the floor. I go through mindset. Regardless of how competent you are, if you can't focus, you're not going to be effective, and you're going to get fired, frankly speaking. So I do things like the science of intensity method, which is basically the sheet I go through on the motivations of how I came up with it, and I show how to build it, and I show how that helps with focusing. I go through the exercise depth model. The exercise helps you focus. But I go through all of these techniques that enhance your capacity to be effective. What you want to do is you want to pick the most effective task. You don't want to have a to-do list that's 100 items big, and one of them would have really moved the needle forward, but you procrastinated by working on the other 99 for 10 months and ignored this one. It's a very, very common trap for productive people, which I had to learn the hard way. But these sort of things I make sure I cover, so you as a project management consultant are not stuck in these traps. There's also topics like the FinTech consultant oath. Do not give tacit approval. The client wants you to take the lead and direct them. That's why you're hired to do so. If you do that one thing and you have the knowledge, you will go a long way. Next, we do consulting knowledge one section. Okay, it's broken down into two parts. The first is the consulting Bible, how to actually manage a project. Okay, so now you can learn PMP, Project Management Professional. You can get the certification from another training academy. They're going to charge you $2,000, and they'll teach you everything in like 200 hours. You're going to spend 6 months to a year. You're out the door, but you will still not know how to manage a project, because this is exactly the problem I found myself in. So this set of information is what I slowly put together as I went through my consulting contracts, and I kept getting heat. I didn't know what to do in a situation. I did an incorrect step. So I really researched. I put this set of knowledge together. Once you know this, you'll have confidence to hit the ground running. Okay, now waterfall only gets your foot into the door. Okay, it's the reality of the situation. You get the PMP, and now you can start. Most technology projects, whether it's enterprise software implementations, infrastructure projects, lift and shift from on-prem to the cloud, or agentic AI automation implementation for specific workflows, whatever it is, waterfall is only going to get your foot in the door. When you're working at the technology level, you're going to be doing Agile. When you're working at the program level, you're likely going to be doing waterfall. So you still need to go beyond that, which brings us to the next section. Again, okay, so the next section is Agile from the trenches. Now, the way I cover this is with anti-patterns. If you go through the official scrum.org guidelines, what you will get is a 20-minute reading, okay, just 20 minutes. And they made it succinct on purpose. However, it doesn't give you the nuances such that you can start a professional contract and you can go in there and you can examine the current state, you can examine the future state, and you can give them a path of what to follow. And you can also pick up on things like how far along is the organization on the DevOps journey? Are they really beginners where they want to do it, but if you try, the top level of management has zero buy-in, and no matter what you do, you're going to fail. So actually what you want to do is not work at the bottom level upwards, you want to start at the top level downwards. These sort of nuances you're not going to be able to get from a 20-minute reading. Large set of anti-patterns that we're going to go through. Anti-patterns with the organization, anti-patterns with the product owner, anti-patterns with the backlog, anti-patterns as a scrum master, anti-patterns with a stakeholder. My job is not to cover everything in a dictionary fashion. My job is, with the theory portion, to get you to a point where when you sit down, you have the mindset of a diagnostician. You're in there and you are examining what needs fixing. So this is going to be from the front line, from the trenches, and that is the Agile module. Then we move on to the AI tools knowledge. Okay, so first is the agentic AI web app full stack build from scratch to the end product. Okay, so we start with the N8N automation, the agentic AI platform. We set up a VPS, virtual private server, so that you're not paying like $600 for if you have a lot of triggers in the month. So you have it running privately, you're not paying N8N on their cloud. We compare how it's more efficient than the traditional data engineering, extract, transform, load process, where you need to use SQL and put it into a data warehouse. This is much faster, and this will give you the chops to make a product equivalent to something that would be found on the market, such as AutoTempest, where a team of software engineers is required to manage that. Using the power of AI and the leverage of technology, you yourself as one person will be able to take it from step 0 all the way to the last step, including front-end development with lovable.dev. Okay, now I will show you one thing, which is I really am an expert at this, because check this out. An engineer reached out to me from lovable.dev, and your work on this is really solid. I rarely see vibe coders complete this to such completion. Okay, and he's doing a research as a research engineer at lovable.dev. So the knowledge that I am going to be transferring to you is going to be from expert level on this topic. Next is Mermaid AI. Okay, why Mermaid AI? Well, as a project manager, you're going to have to make a lot of flowcharts. Traditionally, we use MS Visio. MS Visio is great if you want to sit there and you want to click all day, but now you can use a prompt-based solution to use natural language to get that done 10 times faster. And we'll learn Mermaid AI, some quick examples for very pragmatic reasons. Now, module 3 is AI augmented Jira management. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so let me switch to my personal Jira board. Okay, now what happens with these Jira boards is essentially Jira is a collection of to-do lists. Each ticket is a to-do list. Each lane is a to-do list. You know, you can move the tickets around and you can prioritize it. And then if you go into the backlog is a to-do list. And if you go into the epics are, so Jira is essentially a nested collection of to-do list management. Now, when you have such a system, and you're managing 40 people, every person you add into the communication chain exponentially increases the amount of time it requires to communicate. Okay, for example, if person A emails person 40 an email, and then person B emails person 39 and 40 an email, Every time you add a person, there's just much more communication happening. And at one point, I had to spend almost 8 hours just catching up on emails to see what everybody was saying before I was knowledgeable enough to make the right educated decision to move forward. Yeah. Okay. So how do you combat this with AI tools? Right now, I say in Hammer's Law, if you've downloaded my guide, you'll know. Hammer's Law is my concept that I came up with, which says this is the technique that you can use to insert yourself into an expert-dominated field. Okay, what does that mean? So, if you know a new tool better than someone who's an expert with the old tool, you can outcompete and you can beat them. Okay, so for example, we had VBA for scripting, and then we had Power BI for collection of merging data from various sources and visualizing it. Power BI, Tableau, and so on. Okay, now it could take you 10 years to get good at VBA, but it has limitations. It needs to be done offline. All of the files need to be downloaded. The scripts need to be ran. And if anything changes, like column names, it breaks. So regardless of how much you were an expert, you were constricted by those limitations of the software. So you have somebody who has a 10-year expert in this old tool. You have someone new that has 6 months of experience with the new tool. That new tool is so powerful that it'll just beat the old technology in a clean sweep fashion. Okay, so that's what I mean about Hammer's Law. Now, how does this apply to the Jira backlog management? Well, when you have a lot of emails or a lot of communications to read, what you can do now is you can take a JQL export, and then you can feed it to an AI of your choice. I like Grok because they don't massage the initial point of the data. I believe they're the only ones that do that. They leave the data raw and intact. That's why I always use them. But through a collection of prompts, now you can examine what needs to be done without having to read for 8 hours. Okay, so we cover very practical techniques such as that. Going back to the roadmap, now we're done with level 0. Level 1, this is where I start making you into an expert. Integrating Excel files across Power Query. This is for demand management. Let me see if I can show you some of this. You will learn comprehensive Power BI as part of this course, but all right, so I found it. So pretty much through the combination of Power Query and Power BI, you will become an expert at demand management, which is taking the amount of capacity an organization has, comparing it with the amount of project allocations an organization has, and merging the two. Okay, now the difficulty here is this happens in a hybrid environment. Often the finance department, they're going to want to know traditional waterfall because they need to pass audit, where the technology team is going to be working in a product management or agile fashion. But you're going to be left with the problem of how to reconcile the two, and well, these techniques are used in part of that process. So this will set you up for the next step. Vision PPM is a custom project portfolio solution which solves a specific problem. Okay, now what happens is when you have organizations, they start off maybe like 5 or 10 people, they grow to 100 to 200 people big, and they usually have about 10 to 15 project managers, and they have a resource pool. They're at this critical point where every project manager is managing their project in MS Excel, and those Excel sheets are not communicating with each other. You have a bunch of resources, and basically the first project manager can book a resource, and the second project manager also book the same resource, and now the picture is getting unclear. Who is doing what? How much capacity is actually available? Now, when you take foundations, this is foundations, when you take tools like Power Query, you can make a master schedule by taking all of those Excel files and merging it into one using Power Query. So I'm going to go through that, which will allow you to do things like this, make automated portfolio financials, make master project plans, and this will be the foundations. Okay, so we start there. It's very similar to Power BI, the industry leading tool, because they both use Power Query. So first, I make you an expert at Power Query, and that way the next step is going to be easy. Tutorial number 2 is what I call Seacroft's Gantt chart, Seacroft's slicer-based Gantt chart. So similar to what I showed you here, where I click on stuff in my table filters, we build a Gantt chart that is activated by a slicer. Okay, now let me show you. Let me see if I can show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's see. Well, it's right here. It looks something like this. Where on the left, you have the project cycle. You have the role type. You have the resource. And when you click on this, it filters your Gantt chart into the stuff you need to know. What this actually does is it gives you a photographic memory. Okay, so for example, let's say if you're a workstream lead, okay, working as a scrum master, you have a team of about 40 people and they're all getting, they're all participating in sprints or they're doing Kanban. But at the same time, these technology organizations are very, very chaotic, very fast-paced. Something breaks. A server stack that needs an update, and if it doesn't get it done, then you're going to lose manufacturer warranty support. Executive is trying to solve this problem, and they call you randomly. Hey, who can take this on? You say, let me get back to you. Or even if you're doing Jira management by Jira for Agile, you always keep your dynamic Gantt chart up to date. And this will give you a photographic memory. You can click, they'll be like, well, do you have a business analyst available? You click on business analyst, you'll be like, business analyst A is doing this task from this date to this date. They only have a 3-day break, then they're doing this task from this date to this date. The person on the other end is going to be like, wow, you're really on the ball. Okay, and you can do that for any of the resource or the project or the cycle or the phase and so on. So one of the techniques I used a lot, because in a hybrid environment, you absolutely need something like that to merge everything together. You cannot just learn waterfall separately, Agile separately, product management separately, and then be dropped into an environment that hasn't transitioned into either of those 100% and expect that your tools are going to do the job. Okay, so we'll cover things that will help you from that angle. PMO, Excel schedule integrator, automated scheduling for portfolio demand management. Then we do Jira administration, double Jira board technique that I learned at Morgan Stanley. You do a Jira board at the program level and it's connected to Jira boards at the technology level. Okay, so you could have a project that is being managed by a Scrum Master and each project is a card in the parent Jira, and then the child Jira board could have hundreds of tickets, but as it gets solved, the parent Jira board moves forward. Okay, so we covered techniques like that, the double Jira board technique, automation, epic simulation, and so on. And then this is your second entry for your portfolio, Vision PPM. This is your custom PPM BI solution. It took me over 200 hours to learn this, and in the industry, there are players that currently charge $60,000 to implement this. So for example, there's Sense IQ product by Sensei Project Solutions, which is essentially the exact same thing. They use Power Apps, Power BI, and a project management software that feeds the data. So we're going to use MS Project Cloud, but it could be anything from Jira to MS Project Cloud to even an Excel file, which you'll also learn. Okay, so they charge $60,000 to implement this, and you will get to know how to build this. We're going to do a weekend build. We're not going to do things like timesheets. It's not going to be, 200 hours, but it will be enough such that it can go into your portfolio. And when you're in front of a hiring manager, they're going to be like, wow, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. Something that's learned in the industry, not from academics. Okay, so there's other vendors too. There's PPM Express. Okay, essentially they have a similar solution. At one of my contracts, I was tasked with figuring this out. Either they pay $60,000 or I build it myself, and I ended up building it myself. That's how I got the knowledge. We're going to use dummy data, of course, so I'll be able to teach it to you. And this is exactly what they're doing. They're using Power Query to connect it with Power BI. Okay, so We'll build that solution. It looks something like this. Let me show you a couple of images. Okay, it's going to be a full demand management solution. All of the resources in the organization in one place. Dummy data. Okay, so you'll get to learn how all of this works. And simulations. So not only can you could go into a contract, you could do stakeholder interviews, you can examine the resource pool, you can recommend a solution such as this if it's needed. You would even have the technical chops to implement it. Of course, all of this is geared towards getting you the interview. You're going to do whatever project you're going to do at your contract, getting you to get through the interview. Okay, so all of this is dynamic. When you click on it, it'll tell you more about the resource pool. When you click on this arrow, a menu pops out, and it gives you options to filter. Okay, let me click on here. Again, all this is built in Power BI. So you'll have expert level vendor grade knowledge on Power BI in the project management domain. Okay, now so before you had the problem of separate Excel files not being able to communicate each other, a muddy view of the capacity and demand of the organization, and now you have something like what's being done in fiscal quarter number 1, what's being done in fiscal quarter number 2, what's being done by cost class, what's being done by the month, what's being done by project type, and so on. Okay, so this is business intelligence, and it really allows you a magnifying glass into the operations, which is very valuable to when you're trying to optimize the resource pool. Okay, so there's a lot here. I'm not gonna, go through all of it, but basically it's automated portfolio financials, master resource scheduling, and GUI-based interface, allowing data analytics and business intelligence into the resource pool of an organization that you'll get to learn as Vision PPM. Okay, now, why do it this way? Well, you could actually do it. You can actually get professional project management software solutions like Clarity PPM. They cost millions of dollars to implement. So unless you're a massive organization, companies don't want to take on that risk. Next is the Technical Foundations Overview module. This is where I cover a little bit about a lot of topics, and I get you foundationally sound. Okay, so this is a hero lecture. Say about a 4 to 6 hour hero lecture. I cover things like DevOps and the modern enterprise software organization. Okay, so you have traditional waterfall only organizations, then you have a spectrum of transformation in technology organizations that instead of doing one large project and delivering at the end of the year, which has a whole host of problems, like you design the solution, by the time it's at the end, it's outdated, or you design the solution, by the time it's at the end, there's a large bug and the developer that fixed it is gone, leading to huge inefficiencies and reverse engineering trying to figure this out. So you go from that to designing one feature and releasing it the same day, from zero DevOps to almost 100% DevOps. Organizations like Netflix, Google, Microsoft, and so on. Okay, so you need to understand this arc, because when you're dropped into a random organization, they may not know where they are. And if you don't know where they are on the spectrum, they're going to tell you to do something one way, you're going to do it that way, and you're not going to get the end result. Okay, so you need this background information. We cover that. We cover technical details like CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. When a software feature is made, you need version control, you need to commit it to the trunk, you need an automated testing suite, and all of this is software engineering, but you need to know what is going on. Otherwise, you're not going to have the confidence if you encounter these things. When you start, you're going to be in an assistant role, so don't worry, you're not going to have to know all of this inside out. But eventually, when you're targeting roles that are $20,000 per month roles, what you want to know is you need to know basically everything. And I will cover a little bit about the lay of the land. That way, when you encounter something on the actual contract, you can zoom in into what's needed, okay? So CI/CD, deployment pipelines, infrastructure as code. Basically, before you had servers in data centers, network engineers, and enterprise applications lived on that. Then cloud computing came out, and big players like Amazon, AWS took over, Azure took over with cloud computing. They host all of the servers. You don't need to. You can actually rent it by the minute in your code. So you can be like, hey, reach out to Azure. I want a system of computers that will scale depending on demand. Could be one computer or 100 computer, and it's tied to the number of traffic that comes in. Okay, so now you're no longer limited by, hey, I need to buy 100 servers because on Christmas I'm going to have maximum demand, but in February I'm only going to need one computer. But I need to solve for the bottleneck, therefore I need 100 servers. So you no longer have that problem with dynamic scaling, and you can use infrastructure as code to specify in your code what you need. The code runs, you get charged by the minute by AWS or with Azure or with GCP, Google Cloud, or whatever. But I introduced you to this concept so you know what it is. Data engineering, we go through the data engineering lifecycle. Value stream mapping, when you start in a new role, there's going to be large processes, cross-functional teams. A process might start in one place, end up all the way in another. You might be in charge of a portion of this process, but what I like to do is when you start a new role, what you want to do is you want to map this process so that you can optimize the cycle time. Okay, otherwise you're just wasting your resources. They're going to be frustrated and you're beating your head against a wall. We'll cover what value stream mapping is. Very good technique to do immediately as soon as you start a new contract. You do stakeholder interviews, you meet with all the resource managers, you talk to everyone, you figure out what's going on, you interview them, you get their pain points, you note it down, then you do the value stream mapping. Once you have the value stream mapped out, you map the pain points with the value stream, you come up with a plan, you take it from current state to target state, you meet with all of them as a stakeholder, you present your plan. Now you're established as a person who is, not just in there, not knowing what they're doing, and you slowly, over the next 3 to 6 months, you absorb the remainder of the dynamic and you work in a calm fashion towards that. You steer the activities towards that end goal. Okay, so things that I have learned from the front lines, we continue with. Okay, then module 3, we cover the missing piece, product management. So waterfall has a problem where you start at the beginning, it takes a year. By the time you get to the end, things are outdated. If you fix a bug, it's going to be inefficient. That's the problem with waterfall. So Agile came as a solution. The problem with Agile is it cuts the project life cycle into 2-week sprints, which is great. Now you solve those first 2 problems, but it introduces a new problem, which is the output of Agile is measured in velocity points. So Scrum Masters and product owners are incentivized to optimize velocity points. What this translates to is a collection of features. Maybe the team built 100 features and only 3 of them are being used. So it introduces the problem of effectiveness. Okay, so we covered this at the personal level, where you might have a to-do list of 100 things and you did 99 of them, but only one of them actually pushes the needle forward. That one thing is you being effective versus keeping busy. This is the same problem at the team level for an Agile team. How do you solve that? The umbrella discipline to solve that is product management. And basically what you got to do is you got to work with the end client. You got to interview them. You got to see if they're actually using the solution. You got to interview them before you build the solution, and that needs to be part of your Scrum process. That way you're validating before you're building. So we go into that as a hero lecture, and then we go into the theory behind AI deployment, project management, and orchestration. Okay, so this program, it is BI-FinTech, business intelligence and finance technology, and AI orchestration, project management, deployment. Those 2 are intertwined. Most of the contracts are BI-FinTech, and now they're asking people to have AI orchestration expertise. Specifically in the job descriptions, you'll notice that in the job board. Okay, more and more projects are coming along that are now specifically AI orchestration. So what is the difference between the 2? Well, BI-FinTech projects are traditional enterprise software projects that you need to build a feature. The feature is going to be specific to a situation. So you have the business PM, you have the technology PM. They work together in sort of a back and forth dance, and the business PM describes the business problem. The software PM, the technology PM, takes it to, and the business analysts, they take it to the dev team. They map out a solution, and one feature at a time, the enterprise software solution is slowly built out. Okay, so that's called vertical market software. Sorry, yeah, that's called vertical market software. That's called vertical market software. Horizontal market software is something like iTunes or Microsoft Word. You build it once and you just distribute it and everyone just installs the same copy. That is not the case with enterprise software solutions, and that is also not the case with agentic AI automations. Agentic AI automations, they replace existing processes piecewise in a very similar way to enterprise software implementation. So you're going to need an AI PM, you're going to need AI expert business analysts. They're going to need to come in and examine the existing process. They're going to need to come up with a agentic AI solution. Okay, so similarly to how I have this, that will only work here. Okay, and this will only work here. I can't take this and implement it somewhere else. So you will need a team, again, you'll need a team of experts to slowly implement this across all of the enterprises in the world. But what will happen is in 1994 to 1995, when websites came out, every single person wanted a website, and by 1996, every single organization had one. The same thing will happen with agentic AI automations. Every single organization will want one, and this is the component that will make you future-proof. So we'll go through all of the phases for that. Then we move on to certifications fast track, and these are 3 certifications you get. What you'll be doing is you'll be taking notes, and I will be, through video format, instructing via the reverse learning technique. So first we do professional Scrum Master, which is not too long. It takes about 8 hours to do, and you'll be certified from a professional Scrum Master perspective. Then we get the project management professional certification. I have a module that helps you prepare and apply for the PMP certification. You need 3 years of experience in project management to get the certification, but through the group coaching sessions, you can ask me questions, and we will come up with a strategy of how you can get this. But basically, when I interview you, if you're interested in this program, we're going to have a strategy call. I vet your experience against this roadmap, and I will tell you if you're going to be able to do this or not before I accept you. So if you're not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to onboard you as a student, because you do need a certain level of expertise to be able to get to the end. Okay, so I'll go through what you have, and we'll come up with a game plan, which we can do on the strategy call. Okay, now for project management professional certification, you need to do 2,000 questions. We do it with the reverse engineering technique, which is highly effective. It takes about 2 hours to do 50 questions. So you'll need about 80 hours to do everything. And from there, you will get the PMP, which is about 2 weeks if you do it full-time, 40 hours a week, about 4 weeks if you do it part-time, which is extremely fast because there's people that have spent a year on this and then they have still failed. Now, mind you, you'll be more of an expert because of level 0 and level 1. And I'm also PMP certified, so I'll make sure you don't have any blind spots. Okay, so now you have the PMP, the golden standard. We do the same thing with CPMAI. Then we go through the modules that help you get the job. There's a contract hunt and interview prep module. We build your portfolio, the same 2 portfolio items. You're going to demo it. You're going to speak over a video and have that as your portfolio. I show you the technique of how to get the contracts. I have a lot of experience winning these contracts, so we go through that. Finally, you get to the last step, which is your $10,000 per month plus interview. And once you pass, you are done. Congratulations. I will personally reward you with a brass coin that says Solucio inventor, okay? Which means a solution will be found or it will be invented. In Latin, it means do not give up. Okay, so that'll be a reminder you went through this program. It's inspired by this engineering ring. Every engineer in Canada gets this ring, which I found motivating while I was going through the program. So this will be your reward. Once you finish this, you'll have a new career. In 12 months, $10,000 per month, you'll have earned $120,000 in your pocket, and you'll have this coin medallion to remember for your experience. Okay, so I know I flew through that is because I'm trying not to take 2 hours to do this. So I had to fly through it. Once I customize it to your experience, book a free strategy call. I will go slower. We can examine how this maps out to your specific situation. But lastly, the first 90 days, once you get hired, how to handle the first 90 days so you're not feeling lost. You can truly hit the ground running. We also cover that. Plus you're in the WhatsApp student group. So if you're stuck, you will know what to do. So that is how I can guarantee, satisfaction guarantee, you will get $10,000 per month plus consulting contracts by completing this program, because it is the only program that gives you deep domain expertise and triple certifications. And currently there is a special running. The special is Founder Special, $9.99, 10 spots remaining. Okay, and this is an insane value because after this, it will be $5,000 a seat. And the reason for this is, well, I spent 2 years building this, and basically in the 2 years, I was earning $20,000 per month in my career. So in a very real way, there's an opportunity cost of me for $480,000, and I'm not going to be able to charge $1,000 per student for very long. Only 10 students get that, and the next 100 students will help me break even at the regular cost. So if you're interested, I highly recommend book a strategy call. It's free. I'll go through this with you. Again, I made the full program myself, one person. You'll be learning everything from one source, and I'll pause there. I will review my notes. Typically, I would ask if there's any questions. Of course, I can't do that right now, but let me see if there's anything I want to cover. Right. We covered the roadmap, but we need to cover the school portal. Okay, so part of the unboxing is so this is the school portal. Okay, when you sign up, here's what you get. You get the community. There's a classroom tab, and then the calendar tab has the meetings for the weekly meetups. Then you have the modules here. They're divided into parts. You get videos from myself. You can click on them, and you can go through them and so forth. And I'm always refining this, but I made every document myself. I'll play one of it so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I wrote all this. You'll see where you are on the roadmap. I'll narrate it. We meet twice weekly. You can discuss the material. You can go at your own pace, but in a nutshell, that is the summary of the unboxing, and I think that does cover everything. So I appreciate your time. That concludes the unboxing video, and I will pause there.